Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you all had a great weekend. In regards to today's video, we got a few things that happened over the weekend. In particular, as you see from this headline, Trudeau says he thinks about quitting his crazy, super tough job daily, but is determined to continue. Now, before we get into a clip of breakfast television and those three stooges talking about this, we see that he said in a radio chat with Radio Canada during the live portion of the program, he said that he thinks every day about quitting his crazy, super tough, and at times challenging job. And to be honest, I'm not surprised. I think most people want this guy to resign by now. But as I mentioned, Breakfast Television covered this morning, and this is what they had to say.
Did you catch this Justin Trudeau radio interview Friday on Radio Canada? How do you say it,
Yeah.
Laura? Radio Canada?
Yeah.
Fascinating. And it was long form. He kind of let it fly. Here are the highlights. He playfully told the interviewer that he thinks every day about quitting his, quote, crazy, super tough, and at times challenging job. He said, is it boring at times? Yes. But amid all the domestic and international challenges, Trudeau said, and you could tell by the energy when you hear this, that he is very determined to stay on the job. Women's rights, LGBTQ plus rights, climate change are at the top of his to-do list and to protect list, no question about it. Now, I know the headline kind of went global in terms of Trudeau calling it a crazy, tough, boring job, and he thinks about quitting every day. I understand how those headlines would travel. But there wasn't energy in this interview. I want to defend Justin Trudeau, something I don't always do on the show. There wasn't energy in this interview that doesn't kind of come through those quotes that I think where I think the context is kind of important. But Mayor, you're batting leadoff on this. When you see quotes like this, what goes through your head?
Well, I think exactly what you just said. I mean, it's very different to speak something than it is to see it written in black and white. And I think, unfortunately, he's definitely fallen into that trap a bit. As someone who is prime minister and has been for a bit, you'd think that potentially there might be some awareness of how that line might travel, especially how that line might travel right now. And look, when I hear that, when I see that, and I think of the job of prime minister, I mean, check, check, check. It seems incredibly crazy and difficult, and I don't know if I'd say boring, but I just haven't experienced it myself, nor will I ever. But I don't think that is exactly relatable. Even though I understand it, the relatability of it is something I almost don't want to hear. Like, that's something that I think you just keep to yourself. Though I think it's understandable, I don't want to hear the Prime Minister say that out loud. I don't.
And I feel like going into the job as Prime Minister, you know it's going to be a crazy job. So it's one of those things. Yes, I didn't hear the interview, so I don't know the tone at all. But yes, those lines, those particular quotes would travel, considering just how divided we are as a country at this point. And so I think maybe you choose your words a little bit more carefully, just in case.
Yeah, considering the context all around this Prime Minister, it was fascinating to kind of read. I think internally and externally, there's two different stories. One, when he says, I think about quitting every day, going on that walk in the snow, as his dad famously went on, and the anniversary just happened to that. Don't tell me there aren't people in the Liberal Party who see that quote going, all right, well, let's really sit down here. Like, let's figure this out. Now, who would succeed Justin Trudeau? I don't know the name. That's an entirely different subject. But if I hear a leader saying that on open mic, 20 points down in the polls, there's some easy dots to connect there. Like, what do you really want? Who do you think, do you want the gig? Is this something for you? There is no harm in walking away from a job this difficult. Zero. Plenty of people have done it in the past. So that's the first part of that. If you're in the Liberal Party, you hear that internally. That's interesting. The other part of that is it's sometimes a boring job. I'm interested to know what aspects of it he finds kind of boring. Because what's boring to him might not be boring to other people. Like global affairs, the housing crisis, there was a famous line from this Prime Minister, the budget will balance itself. There have been slip-ups down through the years. What does he find boring about the job? That's the one thing I would like to dig further into. They didn't in the interview necessarily, but I just think the quotes from this Prime Minister are getting more interesting by the day. And I don't know what the end game is in terms of being this honest. Final point. To be this honest, if you're the leader of our country, yes or no? Is this something you want to hear or something you don't want to hear?
I mean, honesty, authenticity, transparency, yes. Having that to do with not sure if this is a job he wants to get up and do every day? No. No.
I'm with you.
Nope.
I'm in for honesty all the way.
Okay.
I want to hear it all.
Right. It's true.
Now, if you made it through that clip, congratulations. I know your brain cells suffered a little bit from that, but it's hilarious that Sid here is saying, I'm going to defend Trudeau for once, when we all know he's a hardcore liberal. He's always so surprised that the Conservatives are doing so well in the polls, this, and that. But one thing I will piggyback off of what him and the woman in the middle, I think her name is Meredith, said, was that this is something you don't want to hear from the leader of the country. If we constantly heard somebody, or if I constantly heard somebody I worked with saying, I just want to quit, I just want to quit, this job's too tough, it's hard, I just want to quit, why would I want that person to be working with me or running something for me? And vast majority of people have said that they want Trudeau to resign or call an election. But as this article states, he says he's determined to continue. And one of the reasons, as Sid had mentioned, was women's rights, LGBT, and climate change. And climate change for sure is really bringing Trudeau down in the polls, because now 70% of Canadians say that they want the carbon tax either paused or gone. 7 premiers, as we've heard, are all asking him to either get rid of it or pause. And people are really getting fed up with this and the rhetoric behind this carbon issue and the increase that's going to be happening on April 1st in regards to the rebate. Now, they brought that up again in the House of Commons today during question period. And I want you to hear Melissa Lantsman go at Chrystia Freeland and call her out for her poor math skills.
Speaker, after 8 years of this NDP Liberal Prime Minister, food bank usage in Toronto is up 500%. Now they want to hike the carbon tax on gas, on groceries, on home heating by 23%, on their way to quadrupling the tax over the next 6 years. What a cruel April Fool's joke. According to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, the average Ontario family will pay $1,674 of carbon tax. Where does this Prime Minister think they're going to get that kind of money?
Here, here. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians can see through these Conservatives, and they know that the only thing these Conservatives know how to do is cut, 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 and the people who suffer the most are the most vulnerable. They want to cut the Canada Child Benefit. They do not support dental care, which is helping the most vulnerable among us. They do not support early learning and childcare, which is helping make life more affordable for Canadian families. They are going to push, they want to push Canadians into poverty. We won't let them.
The Honourable Member from Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, they've already done that, and we're going to cut the taxes. If you give back $1,000 to an Ontario family, but you take $1,674, Liberal math says that's more, but real math says that's less. The Prime Minister doesn't get it. He's not worth the cost, especially for the 300,000 Torontonians who ate in a food bank just last February. They are about to hike taxes by 23% in less than 2 weeks. Why is she the only person in Canada who thinks that raising taxes will lower the cost of food?
And this is a prime example of why Chrystia Freeland is very much out of touch, because she started off by saying Canadians can see right through the Conservatives, when it's really the Liberals that people are seeing through. 70% of you don't believe them on their carbon tax whole spiel. And then she talks about putting Canadians into poverty, which is again what they're doing. And another reason we know Freeland is out of touch is all this is coming right after she touts affordable development, renting a 330 square foot unit for $1,600. Now take that in, 330 square feet. That is virtually nothing. I mentioned in previous videos, I used to have an 850 square foot rental unit for less than $1,000. That's almost triple the size of this unit. Now, in today's current day, I think that same unit that I was in is going for a little bit more than this because utilities and all that are not included anymore. However, she states that it's the conservatives that would be bringing people to believe that they're going poor with poverty. Now, throughout this whole question period, they kept bringing up the rhetoric of 8 out of 10 individuals get more money back. We've gone through this chart. I'm going to put it up one more time. Clearly, 8 out of 10 individuals do not get more money back. But even if we look at some other posts that people have been putting up, in regards to the carbon tax, Canada pays, the US doesn't, and neither does Mexico. I believe Mexico is maybe considering something like that, but right now they don't pay. So in all of North America, Canada is the only one that has to deal with the carbon tax. And even if we look by CO2 emissions by country, we are number 7. If you were to add up all of these, the top 6, that equals 60% of the world's emission. And where are we at? 1.89. We're a mere kick in the bucket. And they really think that we're going to make a big difference by paying some sort of tax that somehow is going to control the weather? Like, again, they don't make sense. But in regards to what they were talking about, how so many people are going to the food banks and they can't afford food, they actually had an interview with one of the farmers. And this man stated that at the beginning of 2019 and the carbon tax, they were only paying about $1.80 an acre. Currently, they're paying $7.10 an acre, and he's got 3,500 acres. That's almost $25,000 in carbon tax from what he was paying originally, which was about almost 6,500. But here's him talking about it.
Some pay a lot more of the tax than others, and that includes agricultural producers, farmers like Ian Boxall. He's a grain farmer from Saskatchewan who's concerned about the upcoming and incoming tax hike. Ian, good morning. Good to have you on the program. I wonder if I can ask you, just on a dollars and cents perspective, how much of a difference has the carbon tax made to your bottom line?
I think when we started tracking the numbers in 2019, it was looking like $1.85 an acre was allocated to carbon tax. With this increase coming up in 2024, we're looking at $7 an acre, $7.10 an acre. Every acre on my farm goes straight to the carbon tax.
And how many acres do you farm?
3,500.
Okay, so you're talking, I'm a journalist, I'm not going to try to do the math there, but you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars.
Right, and if you look at the 30 plus million acres in Saskatchewan, it's a huge expense to Saskatchewan producers who from research done at the universities of Saskatchewan are world leaders in sustainable agriculture production.
Now, the purpose of the carbon tax and rebate program is to incentivize those away from carbon-intensive industries and carbon-intensive strategies. Do you feel like you have an alternative to where carbon is expended on your farm?
No, we don't. And that's one of the biggest things for agriculture is it's a unique sector where we pay both on everything we buy to grow our crop, fertilizer, chemical. We pay the carbon tax on that. We also pay the carbon tax on all of the rail freight to get our product to port. Yet, if carbon tax was initially designed to be a change in behavior, we don't have the ability to change the railroad's behavior, change the companies that manufacture chemical and fertilizer. We don't have that ability, but yet agriculture still foots that bill.
Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like that's why our grocery prices are the way they are. But the liberals like to keep saying, well, economists have said that there's no correlation between the carbon pricing and grocery price increases. Yeah, there is. There's transportation, as he mentioned. There's a purchase of fertilizer to grow the items, and that gets passed down onto the consumers. But I want to hear from you guys, so let me know in the comment section below if you've noticed an increase in your groceries. Because me and my family purchase the same kind of groceries we always do, yet are paying 2 to 2.5 times more, and I feel like I'm not the only one. So let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for all the new subscribers and members and commenters. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And just FYI, I typically don't make videos on the weekend as I'm spending time with my family. But I do appreciate all the views and the comments over the weekend because I love reading them and checking up on them. So thanks again. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy.